Wise ones say, we can be good, good enough, and imperfect, all at the same time. Wise ones say we can listen to understand, not necessarily agree, and be moved by a truth that does not make sense to our lived experience, and let it change the world. They also tell us to raise up those who are trodden upon, to cultivate humility when the world would rather we grow certitude in our hearts. Wise ones remind us we can recognize that those who do harm do not always intend to, and that it is still ours to reckon with the impact. They tell us that we can say, I don't know, I'm not sure, and still be warrior, still be whole, still be leader. In fact, the kind of leader we long for. Wise ones tell us to pay attention not just to the what, but also to the how. May this be the meditation of our hearts. May this be the words of our mouths, not just the what, but also the how. May we be the wise ones today and every day. Please join me in saying the words as we kindle the chalice. We kindle this flame to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
Good morning. Welcome to each of you here in the sanctuary, to those of you joining us online. Welcome to worship at the First Unitarian Universalist. Welcome to worship at the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington on this Sunday, January 14th, 2024. I'm Jeff Duke, a member of the Worship Associates team. I use he, him pronouns, and I am so glad to be with you here today. We are a Unitarian Universalist faith community rooted in the heart of Burlington near the shores of Lake Champlain. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. You are welcome just as you are. We hope you experience connection and compassion and a sense of coming home. This religious society is guided not by a creed, but by our commitment to each other and to a set of shared values, which include justice, equity, pluralism, and generosity, with love at the center of all. As we work to embody these values, we acknowledge that our UU Meeting House and our homes, our schools, and our places of work are built on the traditional lands of the Western Abenaki people who live here still. We strive to be good stewards of this land and these waters, and to care for all those who call this place home. With the season of respiratory illness in full swing, we are strongly encouraging masking, recognizing that wearing a mask is an act of care not just for yourself, but for others around you, especially the most vulnerable members. There are masks by the doors in and out if you need one. If you'd like to follow along with an order of service, you can scan the QR code in the front of the gray hymnal, or you can visit our website, uusociety.org, and click the green button that says Live Stream Service. There, you'll find the order of service as well as a button labeled New to Our Community. If you are new to our community and you feel brave and comfortable, would you be willing to raise your hand so we can extend a special greeting? Welcome. Good morning and welcome. We also have designated welcome ambassadors who are available to answer any questions you might have about our society, our worship service, or Unitarian Universalism. Marilyn Brill and Susan Warner Mills, would you be willing to stand? There they are. Thank you. If you'd like us to connect with you, you can fill out that new to our community form on our website, and if you're here in person, there is a paper version of that form in the pew basket in front of you that you can fill out and drop into an offering basket or give to one of our welcome ambassadors. We'd like to thank FUU-SB member Frank Davis for the special illustrations he has made for today's Time for All Ages. It's such a delightful gift. And we are trying something a little new this morning. We're not exactly sure how it will work, but we think it'll be great. So special appreciation if you are watching from home, the Time for All Ages via the Livestream, and especially gratitude to the tech team for being willing to give this a try. And heartfelt thanks to all the people whose work has made this service possible. Their names appear at the end of the order of service and will be projected at the conclusion of the service. And I also want to mention that everyone is welcome to join our coffee hour downstairs in the community room after the service, which you can reach through these doors here, by elevator or stairs. It's a great time to meet new friends, to learn more about the many things going on here at First UU. Ours is a very busy congregation. Friends, whatever it took you to get here, wherever you've come from, wherever you are, whatever burdens and joys you are carrying, you belong. Your whole self is welcome here. Blessed be.
Invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing this opening hymn together. The words are a little different than what's in the hymnal. We'll follow what's here on the projection as we sing Answering the Call of Love. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, building by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide, reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. That last line, we are answering the call of love. Thank you. Please be seated.
So welcome the children and those who are young at heart to come forward here. We have a time for all ages, and it might involve some volunteering. So I want to start with a question. It's a real simple question. What is this? It's a mirror, just a really small mirror. And I'm going to be asking each of you, some of you, one by one to volunteer to be a human mirror. And your job is going to be to say, you have something on your face. Can we practice that? You have something on your face. When you say that to me, I am going to respond. But I'm not always going to respond in the best way. And it might even sound like I'm mad. But I'm not mad at you. I'm play acting for them. Because I think you already actually know what I'm going to be teaching today. So I'll be play acting. I might sound mad. But the last thing I say might be the thing that we're going to aim for in our community. So can you say it just one more time? You have something on your face. You guys can join in too, I'm sure. Okay. So, there it is up there. So we're going to begin in just a minute. Do I have something on my face now? Okay. So, who is going to be the first human mirror? Okay, Joe.
You have something on your face.
No, I don't have anything on my face. Who's the next one? Yeah.
You have something on your face.
What are you talking about? You're wrong. I'm not going to listen to you. Funny you should say that because you're the one who has something on your face. You must be joking. It can't be true. I am an expert face washer. I have been studying face washing for years. How dare you tell me I have something on my face? You don't get to play with me anymore. I have something on my face? What's wrong with me? I mean, are you telling me that I'm a bad person? I'm going back to bed. I'm too old to learn how to wash this off. One more. I have something on my face? Thank you for telling me. I've been washing at it bit by bit, but I guess it's stickier than I thought. I really appreciate you letting me know. Well, would you help me wash it off? You could. Is it coming off? Mostly off. Yeah. Wow. So when we think about what it is to be in community together, what it means to be Unitarian Universalist, which one of those responses do you think is the best way to be a Unitarian Universalist? The last one. Anyone? Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah,
The last one, the open one. Thank you for using that word. I'm open to the feedback. That's part of what is so important in our values about how to be accountable to each other. Sometimes when we're in community, it's really important to listen to people, what they have to say, even if at first we're like, I don't want to hear it, because it might be like we're feeling embarrassed or we're worried about maybe we've harmed somebody or we're confused about what they're saying. Whoa. But listening and responding to it with openness, curiosity, that's how we build beloved community. And that's especially true for those of us, and I'm going to say this as a white woman, When we have an identity of privilege along race or gender identity or ability and disability, right, around sexual orientation or class, it's so important. If we have a privilege when it comes to systemic oppressions, that we listen more and we are open more. I think what we see up there on the screen is that when we do, we're part of building the beloved community that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed about and that we dream about too. So when that comes together, I think what happens, we find that we build not only beloved community, but we find that we have also lit the chalice that gives us hope and gives us a sense of guidance. Thanks for listening to my story and being a part of it and helping me learn something. It's time for us to sing, the children and the volunteers and the staff, to faith development.
Repeat after me. As you journey, may you know, love and hope go with you. Learn and grow. Together. As you journey, may you know, love and hope go with you, love and hope go with you. Learn and grow, learn and grow.
The following words come from a speech given about a month after the march from Selma to Montgomery in 1965 by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. However, some of these same thoughts and phrases can be found in other speeches given in that year and subsequent years. One of the questions this particular passage tries to address is how to view the task of reform and where the responsibility for change lies. Is it with the legislator, the citizen, the broader culture? While an important question, as you listen to the words of Dr. King that I'm about to speak, we invite you to listen through the filter of intention versus impact. What is in the heart of a person in contrast to their behavior? We also want to acknowledge that we have not adapted the text, but used Dr. King's original words, which means the use of man and men where we understand it now to mean all humans, regardless of sex or gender. It may be true that you can't legislate integration, but you can legislate desegregation. It may be true that morality cannot be legislated, but behavior can be regulated. It may be true that the law cannot change the heart, but it can restrain the heartless. It may be true that the law can't make a man love me, but it can restrain him from lynching me. And I think that's pretty important too. So while the law may not change the hearts of men, it does change the habits of men. And when you change the habits of men, pretty soon the attitudes and the hearts will be changed. And so there is need for strong legislation constantly to grapple with the problems we face.
For those of you who don't have the habit of looking at the order of service, I just want to give you a heads up that the sermon today is in 2 parts. Kind of helps you regulate yourselves to know what to expect. So how many of you, I'll see a show of hands, are familiar with Far Side, the cartoon by Gary Larson? A lot of hands went up, just FYI, those of you who are on the live stream. So these are typically one-frame cartoons with commentary on the absurdity of life. And I'm thinking of one in particular. It shows a spaceship with 3 aliens having just left the spaceship, and there's also a human farmer, Roy, who's reaching out his right hand to shake what he thinks is the alien's hand. However, what just so happens to look to Roy like fingers and a thumb are actually the alien's head. And thus, without meaning to, Roy causes the total annihilation of the planet. His intent did not match the impact. Some of you might remember a sermon I gave this past September. It was on the book by Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg called On Repentance and Repair, Making Amends in an Unapologetic World. And as part of that service, as I walked forward to the pulpit, James and I collided, and he fell. And it looked as if I had tripped him and then didn't really acknowledge it, going about the business of giving a sermon, though by the end of the sermon, given that what I was talking about was making amends, I apologized in front of all. It was a pratfall, intentionally planned and dramatically executed. And I can't tell you how many people approached me afterwards convinced it was real. And I felt I had to apologize to each and every one of them for the impact of such a persuasive staging. They were needlessly worrying about James and perhaps about the relationship between the new minister and the music director. It would be wonderful if it were only in cartoons that intent and impact don't match. But that's not how the world works, nor human interactions, particularly ones where there are power differentials and systemic oppressions. Some of us, especially those of us, and I speak here for myself with cultural or social privilege, sometimes we lean far too much on our intentions. We don't give space, we aren't open to the impact of our words or actions. If we, as a congregation, if we as individuals are to live into the 8th principle, if we are live into a commitment to dismantle systems of oppression, including racism, in ourselves and in our institutions, we must pay attention not only to our intention. We must not only assume good intentions when harm is done or conflict emerges, we must do that and we must, at least in equal measure, tend to the impact of our actions. And in doing so, we must learn when someone invites us to see the impact of our words or actions, invites us to see that smudge on our face, to see their feedback as the gift it is, rather than defending against the information, rather than weaponizing our embarrassment, rather than gaslighting. I want to tell you the tale of 3 hymns, 2 of which we are singing today, as a way to explore the relationship between intent and impact. It's possible you know the story behind this hymn, the one familiar to the congregation. We just sang it. Originally, it had a different title, the title that you see in your hymnal, one that used the word standing for the concept of showing up on behalf of, right? Standing on the side of love. But at the 2016 General Assembly, when Unitarian Universalists gather from all over the country, all over the continent, all over the world, it seemed at that big meeting with thousands of people that every song sung used a walking or standing metaphor. Standing on the side of love, number 1014. One more step, number 168. Guide my feet, 348. Rank by rank, again we stand. For the people who walk and stand without thought, it went unnoticed. But for those among us who use walkers and scooters and wheelchairs and crutches, the impact felt like exclusion. Some disabled folks spoke up. They said something like, "You've got smudge on your face. We've got smudge on our face." They said something like, "Hey, it's okay to use walking and standing metaphors every once in a while, but this much?" Without reference to the other ways that people move in the world, without reference to other ways people show up. And the composer of the hymn, Jason Shelton, he chose, rather than to defend his use of a metaphor that worked really beautifully, he chose to listen. And he did so at first to understand, not necessarily to agree. And it turned out, as happens to people who are willing to become wise, that he was moved by a truth that did not make sense in his own lived experience, and he let it change his world. And he let it change the lyrics and title of the song. It was like he was a character in A Time for All Ages and said, "I have something on my face. I have ableist privilege that is impacting my choice of lyrics. Thank you for telling me. I have been washing it away bit by bit, but I guess it's stickier than I thought, and I really appreciate you letting me know. Would you be willing to help me wash my face? Would you be willing to help me create new lyrics?" He let go of that perfect song that turned out to be perfect only for some. And eventually, he found the new song with new lyrics and new title, one that we all can sing and hopefully feel included, answering the call of love. There is another song in the same hymnal, an energetic, amazing song written by the late Harry Belafonte. And this is a song we are not singing today. This song is right now going through a similar process as Answering the Call of Love, though it's more complicated because the composer is dead and there is not yet community consensus on a resolution, which hasn't been found yet. It turns out that the song, Turn the World Around, that there is a phrase that some say sounds like a nonsense phrase. In fact, that's what Harry Belafonte thought. It was just a nonsense phrase he had heard when he was growing up on the island of Jamaica. But it turns out that if you speak to some Jamaican UUs, we learn that the phrase sounds awfully like a homophobic slur. So much so that some refuse to be in the room when it is sung. Before he died, one of these Jamaican UUs asked Belafonte about the phrase. And that is when he said that he didn't realize the phrase held that derogatory meaning. It was a version of, "That wasn't my intention." And then Belafonte said, "You UUs shouldn't sing it," which to my ears says that Belafonte recognized that it did not matter what his intention was. The impact was harm, and harm should not be continued. Now, this is a live topic among religious professionals in our faith right now. Some are saying we cannot sing it at all. Some are saying we can sing it with a lyric change. Some are saying that if we choose to sing the song with a lyric change, we must tell the story so that more people learn not to inadvertently cause harm. Engaging in this conversation is one of the many ways we practice accountability, named not only in the 8th principle, but in the new values that are proposed and being voted on in June's General Assembly. Values that will describe who we are and who we aspire to be. It makes me think about a quote that is said to be from Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. There is more to come in the second part of the sermon.
Thank you, choir. Spiritual practices come in many forms within our Sunday service: generosity, spoken meditation, stillness, music. Creating space for our joys, for our sorrows, and for our gratitude. In this portion of our Sunday service, each of us will have the chance to enter into those communal practices to which we are drawn, to hold space for and offer to each other loving witness. As a justice-seeking spiritual community, our generosity practice includes sharing half the offering each Sunday. Offerings this month will be shared with a fund established to support Hisham Awartani, one of the young Palestinian men shot in Burlington on November 25th, leaving him paralyzed from the chest down. His family has established a GoFundMe that is intended to help cover the costs associated with his recovery, including the long and uncertain rehabilitation needs, costs of care and adaptive living needs, and, as his family writes, providing Hisham with what he needs to enable him to change the world for the good, as we know he will. When the music plays in just a moment,
I'm going to pray first, and then you're going to say that. Let the spirit of meditation, of prayer, of reflection, of connection to that yearning inside you for something larger than yourself be your company and your companion. Spirit of life and love, may it be with gratitude we meet this precious moment, finding breath, breathing us, sorting through the travails laid on our path, committed to sharing the blessings and sacred messages gifted by us to those who came before, meant to be passed along to those who come after. Whatever of lament that is ours on this day, may we find the capacity to honor and respect it, to give it form through voice and body, to release it through intention and humble surrender, to name its damages that they hold no more power over us. May we know when we set down a thing that we can set down that thing weighing us down, allowing ourselves to rest, to be soothed, to be fallow, and in so doing to find nourishment and potential. May we know when it is ours to pick it up, to carry, to bear, to be responsible for moving it on, moving it away, moving it forward, moving it perhaps even to oblivion, that it might be no one else's burden. Let us bring into this circle of care the joy that Memphis has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout and the pride felt with him by his parents, friends, and this community. Let us also bring into the circle of care both appreciation and gratitude for those who have responded to the request from the Sunday morning breakfast team for warm winter wear. And we pass on gratitude and appreciation not only from Gene, but also from his son and his whole family for the birthday card celebrating 101 years on the earth that we signed last Sunday and that was delivered during the week. It brought great delight to that family. Also into the circle of care, we ask for good thoughts and healing energies for Chloe, daughter of our beloved James, our music director, who is having surgery this week. We hold those in our congregation who are struggling with health matters, with matters of the heart, with matters of the hearth. Let our hearts, made each and every day of joy and sorrow, triumph and tribulation, of loss and love, confusion and compassion, be an offering of companionship in this circle of care into which we have gathered, a reminder that we are never alone. Let us enter into a few moments of shared stillness, our own heart communing with itself, until the chime rings again. Amen.
When the music plays in just a moment, we invite you to come forward to silently mark a joy, a sorrow, a gratitude in your life by moving a stone from one of the baskets onto the table, creating a representation of our shared lives in this special fleeting moment. As you are moved, please come forward along the outer aisles and return to your seat via the central aisle. And if you have a gift to add to the offering, you can place it in one of the baskets at the top of the aisles. Or you can make your offering online. If you are at home or if you just wish to remain seated, we invite you to lean into the music as an opportunity for stillness and centering as it makes sense for you. will you say the words of dedicating our offering with me? With gratitude, we dedicate these gifts in the service of our mission to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other and our community, seek truth, and act for justice.
Do you notice sometimes we're a little bit off kilter, like one side, but today we were really balanced? I wonder what collective intelligence emerges when that happens and what if it holds any meaning. I don't know. Before I talk about the third hymn, which we will sing when the sermon concludes, I want to connect us to our congregational covenant. It might be something that you know in your heart or have memorized. You can find it on our website, but I'm going to recite it to you now, and I wrote this too late to include it up there, so my apologies. This is our congregational covenant. We gather together with the intention of creating a vibrant, healthy, liberal religious community. To this end, we make the following promises to each other: to come with open minds and hearts so that we can welcome new ideas, new people, and new possibilities. To listen carefully to each other, to speak open and respectfully, and to assume good intentions, especially in times of disagreement. To participate actively in the life of the society by being present, serving, volunteering, and providing financial support. We recognize that there will be times when we fall short of these ideals. We will be accountable to each other and forgiving of each other. I have high praise for this covenant. It's part of how I fell in love with you in the process that we were in when search was happening. I think if kept at the forefront of our hearts and minds when we hold meetings or chalice circles or debate the worthiness of any decision, I think it's a really good guide. And I also believe that since it's been over a decade since it was adopted by the congregation, and given how fast things move these days, it makes sense that it might need some tweaking in order to stay relevant. And one of the things I have observed in the Unitarian Universalist universe is that we are paying attention how to deepen our sense of what it means to be in covenant with each other. And in our more recent attempts to ameliorate the influence of white supremacy and other supremacist cultures in our midst, we have been called to begin to pay more attention to the impact of our actions, not just the intentions. As such, more recent covenants include attention to impact, not just intention. More and more Unitarian Universalist covenants are moving from phrases like assume good intentions to phrasing like paying attention not only to intention, but the impact of our words and actions. And whenever it is time for this congregation to review and refresh our covenant, I hope this will be one of the things that we take into account. On this Dr. King Sunday, I ask us to spend more time, not just this morning, but throughout your hours and days, reflecting on the passage that Jeff shared earlier. In the coming days, asking you to let this whole service reverberate in your heart and mind, reflecting on how intention and impact work in your lives, in our lives. And let me share with you again Dr. King's words here adapted for the more inclusive language. It may be true that you can't legislate integration, but you can legislate desegregation. It may be true that morality cannot be legislated, but behavior can be regulated. It may be true that the law cannot change the heart, but it can restrain the heartless. It is the Dr. King holiday weekend, and as such, it is hard, I would say nearly impossible, for me to imagine going to church and not singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, what is called in African American communities the Black National Anthem. And this is a hymn, it is in our gray hymnal, that has another complicated cultural context within Unitarian Universalist congregations, especially those congregations, of which ours is one, where there is not a vibrant multiracial membership, and in particular, a vibrant African American presence. There are Black UUs and there are Black UUs in this congregation, and still there's the strength there is something that we tend to and reckon with. There are Black Unitarian Universalist religious professionals and white ones who believe that UU congregations should not sing this hymn because it comes off as white appropriation of a part of Black culture and tradition that is sacred. There are Black Unitarian Universalist religious professionals and white ones who believe that if sufficient context is provided, it can be done and should be done as part of the UU commitment to be anti-racist communities. There is no consensus here. I have come at this point in my journey to believe that it is possible to provide sufficient context to make singing this sacred song not only okay, but important in predominantly white contexts. And I come to this conclusion in part because of my own experience. I learned this song singing it in the pews of my home UU congregation. And it's helped me as a white person to be more literate about Black culture, giving me one tool among the many I need to cultivate relationships with Black community partners in places where I have ministered. And in that process, I have learned how very important it is that we stand for this song, those of us whose bodies allow us to do that. And that includes those of you who are watching on the live stream, for us to stand when this song is sung, doing it in a way that brings dignity to it, in a way perhaps different than just any old hymn. Because to not do so, the impact might be unintended disrespect. And on this Sunday of all Sundays, that is not the message we want to bring to the world. To do so conveys that we understand that this is not just any old hymn because it happens to be in our hymnal, but that it is one, like I said before, that is sacred. Let us be, as the words of the late Reverend Orlando Brugnolia at the top of the order of service says, always newly wise and newly foolish, asking that our mistakes be small and not hurtful, yet willing to reckon with the impact when they are. Let us be the wise ones who recognize that those who do harm do not always intend to, and that it is still ours to reckon with the impact. Let us, when someone tells us there is smudge on our face or tells us of the impact of our actions, let our defensiveness perhaps rise but fall internally, choosing our outward response to be one of openness and curiosity. Let us, should we be the one to shake what turns out to be the head of an alien and inadvertently cause the annihilation of a planet, or perhaps just a world of embarrassment. Let us come back from that moment to remake an even better world. Let us be part of the world that Dr. King dreamed, in which we do not focus on the hearts of our fellow humans, but also on restraining and transforming the harmful habits, their habits, our habits, that we might come closer to building beloved community. Amen. So be it. See to it.
And with that, I invite you to stand with me as we sing together this anthem, 149 in your hymnal. Lift every voice and sing. Thank you. Please be seated.
Will you please say with me the words to extinguish our chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
May you know the blessing you already are. May you sense the blessing you yet can be. And may we all go out and be a blessing in the world.